Hey guys, welcome to today's video. So today we're going to do a prediction on the 2018 Senate midterm elections. So we're just exactly 80 days before the Senate midterms, uh, before these races. And a lot of things have changed since the last time I made a video predicting these races. A lot of primaries were held, a lot of polls were taken, and these things are going to hint the direction of these races, how these races would go. And I'm not going to talk about that now. I'm going to talk about that when I fill some states. And now the economy is doing pretty well. It's the unemployment rate is down. The growth rate is in a favorable range. A lot of people seem to favor the numbers of the economic indicators today, and these are going to help the Republicans since they have the control over the House of Representatives, the Senate, and the presidency. But now I'm not. I think it's enough talk now, and I'm gonna just fill states. Firstly, they're safe for the Democratic Party. The special election in Minnesota, I'm gonna put it as safe. Actually it's not that safe, but I'm gonna fill it with safe states. Now we're gonna fill states that are going to be safe for the Republicans. So now the Democratic Party has 37 seats, just 14 seats away from the majority, and the Republican Party has 47 seats, just 4 seats shy of that majority. Now the first states to be precise that I would predict are the states of Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, and Wisconsin. These states are going into the Democratic column. They have pretty popular Democratic incumbents, and the Democratic Party has strong ground in these states, and I really don't see the Republican Party coming out to win in any of these states, even when the president just comes out and campaign for the Republican candidate. I think all these 4 seats would just hold on to their Democratic they'll just go to the Democratic Party column, and the state of Virginia and New Mexico are going to the Democratic Party column too. They are pretty obvious. These states have solid blue identity. The state of Virginia, Tim Kaine is a very popular senator, and New Mexico is, there's the Republican Party really has no chance at the state of New Mexico. It's becoming more and more progressive. It's becoming more and more liberal. It's not going back to the Republican Party, and especially since the Hispanic population in this state is growing. It's getting harder and harder for the Republican Party to win this state. And now we're going to the state of West Virginia. West Virginia, I think, would go to the Democratic Party. Joe Manchin is a very popular incumbent, and he's a conservative Democrat, pretty conservative Democrat. Although Republicans try to denounce him and try to, Patrick Morrisey, the Republican candidate, really has a chance, but Manchin still leads Morrisey by huge margins in polls, and I think Manchin is a very popular senator in his home state, but he's also a vulnerable state senator in these races because he's in states that overwhelmingly voted for Donald Trump in 2016, but regardless of that, I think he would be able to win. Now, moving on to the state of Montana, I think John Tester would be able to win. The Democratic incumbent would be able to win. He has the incumbency advantage, and he's not that unpopular. And Matt Rosendale, the Republican candidate, doesn't have really, he doesn't really have a shot at getting this seat. Montana, although it's a state that overwhelmingly voted for Trump, it still has some Democratic identity with John Tester. It's not a type of a liberal type of Democrat. It's more conservative type of Democrat. And John Tester is, yeah, he's popular with his constituents, and he has an incumbency advantage. He's not going to lose, in my opinion. And now the state of Nevada, this is a pure toss-up. The incumbent Republican Dean Heller is one of the most vulnerable senators up for re-election this year, and polls have shown him behind or just behind his opponent, or maybe he leads his opponent Jackie Rosen in some polls, but yeah, he does so by a very small margin, and he's not a very popular incumbent, and the state of Nevada, is not going into the not going the Republican direction, and Heller is, he's not that unpopular, and he's faring very bad in polling, and this race would be so hotly competitive that I'm not going to touch it just yet. But the state of Arizona, this one would go to the Democratic Party. It's a shocker one, though. The state of Arizona is a typical Republican state, but Kyrsten Sinema, the presumptive Democratic nominee, is leading every of her presumptive Republican opponent, whether it's Martha McSally or Joe Arpaio or some other candidates. Yeah, Sinema has a big lead over her opponents. So, and the retirement of Jeff Flake would make this seat vulnerable. Flake is an incumbent Republican senator, a vocal critic of the president, in case you don't know, and his retirement from the Senate would endanger the seat and probably would put it into the Democrats' hand. Now I'm going to go back to the state of Nevada, and I predict this one would go to the Democrats. Dean Heller, as I said, is not very popular. In fact, he is very unpopular in his home state, and he's very vulnerable. And Jackie Rosen is doing pretty well in polls, despite Heller having the incumbency advantage. So, yeah, I think this one would go to the Democratic Party. And Nevada is a state that voted for Hillary Clinton in 2016, although the race here was close, and in many cases the president would win. In many cases, I predict the president would win in 2016 in this state, but as of 2018, I see this state going to the Democratic Party. And now, looking at the state of Texas, this one I think would go to the Republican Party, although Beto O'Rourke is a very competent candidate. He tightens the gap, the polling gap between him and Ted Cruz, and it's unprecedented in a solid red state like Texas. The polling margin for a Republican candidate in Texas wouldn't be lower than 15%, but this year Ted Cruz just leads Beto O'Rourke by a single digit in lots of polls, and Beto O'Rourke in fact is doing pretty well in fundraising. But yeah, Cruz is gearing up and campaigning for re-election. And just remember that Texas still has a conservative identity, and Ted Cruz is an incumbent. He has an incumbency advantage. That this one would be close, but it would not go to the Democratic Party. And now the state of North Dakota, I think, would go to the Republican Party as well. Heidi Heitkamp, the incumbent Democratic senator, is very unpopular, and Kevin Cramer, the Republican candidate, is leading her in polls. And North Dakota, just don't forget, it's a state that voted for Trump overwhelmingly, and it's a typical red state. This one would go to the Republican Party, and the state of Indiana would go to the Republican Party as well. Joe Donnelly, the incumbent Democratic senator, is vulnerable. Indiana is the home state of Vice President Mike Pence, and he has a lot of state influence in this state. And Mike Braun, the Republican candidate, is popular in this state, and he's doing pretty well in polling. He leads Donnelly, if I recall it correctly. Yeah, he probably leads Donnelly, and this state is absolutely going to be a state that the president and the vice president would campaign for the Republican Party and would push Mike Braun, the Republican nominee, over the top, and put him into the Senate to replace Donnelly. And now the state of Tennessee. This one, I see a lot of people saying Phil Bredesen would be able to win. Bredesen is the Democratic Party candidate, while, I forgot to say, and I apologize. So, a primary was held in, not a primary, 2 primaries were held in the state just recently. On the Republican Party side, the eventual nominee is Marsha Blackburn, while on the Democratic Party side, the nominee is Phil Bredesen. But a lot of people think Bredesen would be able to win, and Bredesen just actually leads Marsha Blackburn in polls by 0.6%, and real clear politics average. It's a real clear politics average number. But look at the Republican Party. Tennessee is a Republican state, and Marsha Blackburn, the voting turnout in the Republican primary was much higher than on the Democratic Party. So, this state would go to Marsha Blackburn. And now the state of Missouri would go to the Republicans, since Claire McCaskill, the incumbent Democratic senator, is very unpopular. She and her husband are involved in some unfavorable stories, some unpleasant stories that Republicans can use to attack her. And Josh Hawley, the Republican candidate, is a competing candidate. He has that name recognition. He is the state attorney general, and he definitely has that name. And Missouri was a state that voted for the president. It's a red state, but McCaskill still has the incumbency advantage. But at the end of the day, I'll see Josh Hawley winning this race. And now, the Republican Party now has the majority in this race, the majority in the Congress. In the Senate. And now, the last state in this race is the state of Florida, and I think the Republican Party would be able to win. Bill Nelson, the incumbent Democratic senator in the state, is running against Rick Scott, the incumbent Florida governor, and he's the Republican nominee. So Scott's broadly popular in this state. He's the state governor, and he has that name recognition. He's a reputable candidate, and his approval rating, in fact, is higher than Nelson's. His favorability is pretty high, and I think this is why he would be able to win. And he's a smart campaigner. He knows how to spend. He knows how to campaign. And Florida is a state that approves the president, and the president is going to campaign for Scott in this state. So this is the final electoral map of this prediction. The Republican Party having 53 seats and the Democratic Party having 47 seats. So the Republican Party would be able to maintain their majority in the Senate. And if you have comments, you can put them down in the comment section below. You can like, share, and subscribe for more political videos like this, and I'll see you all later.